awakens into tuning in on you. If I was young, it didn't stop you coming through. Oh, oh, you were the first one. Oh, oh, the very last one. Video kill the radio star. Video kill the radio star. Video kill the radio star. Video kill the radio star.
They don't use any instruments, it's all just their voices. Incredible. Navy Red. So, good evening. It's nearly the end of the year. Are you pleased about that? Relieved? It's been a hell of a year. I mean, it's been a tough year all over the world, especially with this recession thing that nobody wants to talk about anymore. According to the Sunday Times Rich List that was published just the other day, the top 10 richest men in South Africa lost 56.1 billion rand. Aren't you sad for them? 56.1 billion rand, the top 10 richest men in this country. How the hell are the rest of us going to manage? No one's poorer than those people, though, who have a victim complex, a victim mentality. Has Brandon Huntley been sent back to South Africa yet? Brandon Huntley is that white South African who believed he was set upon by all the blacks and that he needed to run to Canada to get away from the blacks for refuge. And he feared for his life because the blacks were after him. Well, that's his story, and the dumb Canadians just about bought it. Now, you're probably asking why I have a problem with this guy. Well, because he's a loser. I don't have time for somebody who's got a victim mentality, and Huntley is the classic example of a lazy layabout with more fear than brains and less pride than character. You got to ask yourself, do you see the glass half full or half empty? In South Africa, there are plenty of things to get annoyed about. There's Eskom, right? Who's the boss at the moment? Does anybody know? The lack of service delivery, crime, corrupt politicians, Shabir Sheikh's good health. How about our loser soccer team? We all have problems in this country and in our personal lives. Let's face up to them. But what we do about them, that's what tells you something about the person who's suffering with that problem. Please join me in welcoming on our panel tonight. First up, she doesn't like to be referred to this way, but she is a former beauty queen. She's not by any means just a pretty face, although her face is extraordinarily pretty. She's a pharmacist, she's a philanthropist. She's initiated major corporate social responsibility projects throughout South Africa, in particular the health sector. Her name is Karishni Naika. From the streets of Rivoli to becoming one of South Africa's leading personal development trainers and motivational speakers, he's committed to the process of change and transformation. He's also a pretty funny guy. Robin Banks. The name Robin Banks is no allusion to a way to combat the recession.
It works, it helps. It helps.
Last but by no means least, theatre award winner, former 94.7 Rude Awakening team member. He's been transformed into Happy Shabalala, but for tonight, he's Harry Sideropoulos. Good. Grab a seat. What do a beauty queen, I know you love that, a motivational speaker, and an entertainer have in common? Well, we'll find out after the break. But first, let's do one of the quick votes. Pick up those ActiVote pods. The question: people who are always positive are A, inspiring, B, irritating, or C, out of touch with reality. You can SMS your comments to 37407. Results when we come back. Time for the results of our votes. People are always happy. How do you feel about them? The results are, most people say they're inspiring, but only by a slim majority. The other two quarters are made up by people who find them either really irritating or out of touch with reality. So I can guess just by looking at the faces which of you voted A. Well, we've got a nice panel of people here today. You've all done positive and inspiring things in different ways. But this whole idea in South Africa that we might have a bit of a victim complex, I mean, bad things happen to everyone, right? And we seem to think that they only happen to us. Do we beat up on ourselves a little too much?
I think as South Africans, we always sit around at dinner parties and complaining about realities of South Africa, but we don't ever really attempt to make that change within our microcosm.
The human condition is such that if 99 things go right in a day and if one thing goes wrong, people focus on the one thing that goes wrong and not the majority that has worked out.
Yeah.
And I think it's also about, you know...
Like Joost scored a lot of tries.
Exactly.
Thanks for being the optimist, Gareth.
Yeah, I'm always looking for that silver lining. You agree, Robin?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, for me, the gist of what I'm interested in doing is helping just to recognize that everything is about your state of consciousness. Really.
You're really born in Rivoli?
I'm born in Rivoli. Ek is van Rivax.
Because Mara, who was on last week's show, she actually got hijacked once in Rivoli, so it's a really horrible place to be. And if you could be positive coming from Rivoli, then, you know...
Well, you know, the funny thing, I always thought it was very hilarious how people always complained about crime in South Africa. I was like, why people complain about crime? I mean, it's always been like this. It's just that what happened is when apartheid came to an end, we decided to share it with everyone. I mean, let's look at what we've achieved. In less than, 15 years, this country has done an incredible amount. Yes, we've got so many challenges, but I think we tend to focus so much on what's wrong.
Yeah.
And whatever you focus on is what you're going to attract. It's a choice. There's the ABC language that victims use, which is accusation, blame, and complaint. And it's always someone else who's to blame and we complain. Or there's the ABC of the victor. It's your attitude, your beliefs, and your choices. I think we live in an awesome country.
That's quite cool to remember.
Thank you.
I will admit this at this point that I've always loathed motivational speakers. I still, to a large degree, do, but that's useful info, so I'm willing to, give
me a bit of a bit. I actually don't call myself a motivational speaker anymore.
Good.
I now call myself an international speaker, because any big word is good.
But, Karishni, why is it that we like selling on the negative? When something bad happens to somebody, they can't wait to tell somebody. Why do we do that?
It's just the way we wired. And it's also about sensationalism. Sensationalism is what sells. And people focus on the faults and the negativity. And if you're discussing monogamy, people are not interested. They're interested in polygamy.
Harry, you use comedy.
We know the reality of South Africa and the reality of the world. And I just want to say something about Canada, because I've just come back from performing in Canada, and they said to me, we'd love to come to South Africa, but there's just so much crime in South Africa. And we don't have any crime. And I wanted to go, yeah, baby, at 35 degrees below zero, who's going to leave their house to steal a plasma? Exactly. You know what I mean? Come on. So, having said that, it's a lot easier for us to deal with realities through humor.
But you're not just doing that with South Africa. You did it about your own weight.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about being positive and getting your attitude right so you can stop being a victim. And you knew you were just fat and that you'd eaten too much, and it was part of being Greek.
Yeah.
It was part of being Greek.
I mean, I was told a couple of years ago, he's just so delicate. I was told 12 years ago, because in February I celebrate 12 years that I'm doing showbiz, and they said to me, you could never ever become an actor unless you lose weight. And my attitude was, well, it's fine. If you don't want to cast me as producers and as TV people, I will go up there and I will find the money and I will do it myself. And that is basically what I did. Subsequently to that, I realized that I needed to get to, I no longer wanted to be a victim because I felt that I was a victim. And 2.5 years ago, I was weighing in at 167 kilograms.
Wow.
All right, which is just a place of unhappiness, man. It's as simple as that.
Two of these chairs.
It's 2 of these chairs. And I've subsequently lost 54 kilos. It's been a long... Thank you. I mean, I basically lost 5 Karishni Nikes. I mean, what do you weigh, baby? 10 kilos, what, 11 max? But it is that point of, I'm not happy the way I am, so I could sit around pontificating about how sad and pathetic my life is, or I'm going to do something about it. And it's bloody hard. It's not easy. It's bloody hard. Making that transition from victim to victor, if there is such a word, all right, is hard.
It's easier to be a victim, because all you do is blame someone else. And you sit there and you go, well, what can we do? That's life. We are suffering. Ish, it's terrible. It's bad. And everybody sits around and agrees with you and says, yeah, it's terrible. But to be a victor takes work. it takes effort, it takes discipline, but it also brings with it personal power. So for me, it's about personal empowerment. And in South Africa, we've got so much to be grateful for. Stop focusing on what we don't have. We've got so much.
Karishni, what about your idea of how we can beat this victim mentality? Because for some people, it's not as easy as it is for Harry. He's got enormous amounts of self-confidence.
It really is about your perspective, your perception, and how it is you choose to view the world. You cannot choose to view the world as hostile. It isn't hostile. It is really what you create your own reality. And I mean, crime is certainly by no means geographical. It is not limited to the boundaries of South Africa. It is just the way some South Africans and foreigners choose to see South Africa, and it is unfortunate. I mean, I've been mugged in Miami. I've been mugged in London.
You've been mugged a lot.
What is it about you?
They don't think you can defend yourself. I'll get you a gun.
Listen, you can never judge a book by its cover. I absolutely can.
I believe you. Anyway, we'll be back after the break. We'll continue to talk to our extremely exciting and interesting panel, and we'll also get some questions from the audience. You can SMS too. We'll get you in a moment. So we're talking about the victim mentality versus the victor mentality. This Brandon Huntley, who says, for example, that South Africa is a terribly dangerous place for him just because he's white, and he has a fear that if he comes back here, well, I'm going to meet him at the airport when they deport him back to South Africa. And I'll be really nasty to him just to show him it's not just blacks.
It's about being a coward, and it is about being selfish, because it's only when you've lived abroad that you realize that the grass isn't as green as you assume it to be. South Africa is a virtual paradise without the crime. But then again, you focus on the crime. I've always said and maintained that it takes two hands to clap. What are we doing as good South African citizens?
Buying pirated DVDs.
Well,
exactly. What are we doing to negate the crime? What are we doing to decrease the incidence of crime in this country?
And I also think we are a young democracy. We are only 15 years old, all right? So in actual fact, we're like a teenager. I mean, that's what we are. How do you say it? In Tizwa, I think it is.
Adolescent stages.
Right? Adolescent stages, that's what we are. And somehow we're expecting to be able to function like a first world country. Fully fledged adult without the angst of the past, which, whether we want to admit it or not, certainly had a paramount effect.
We are Julius Malema. Not happy, Shapalala.
That is a subject on its own, Gareth.
That's a whole show.
I like the guy. I can't help myself.
I want to interject here, though, and I want to say something. I previously, when people used to leave the country, I had a lot of judgment. I felt angry. I felt disappointment. I've had a complete shift in consciousness about that. Honestly, I really believe that people need to do what's accurate for them. Honestly, if you really don't believe this is the place for you,
sure.
I honestly believe that's cool. I go with my blessing.
Correct.
But if you're going to choose to stay here with a sense of consciousness of bringing in energy and making a difference and adding value.
There are people who, no matter what life throws at them, they dance and they sing and they become president.
That's resilience.
With all the love in the world, whether you support the current president or not, whether you voted for him or not, I have such admiration for the fact that he went through all that he went through, which, let me tell you, you have a microscope like that held up, or a what do they call it, magnifying glass like that held up to you, and you come out of it well. That's a remarkable show of strength and character. And I think if we could take anything from our new leadership, it's that. Just that, no matter how bad things seem, because he didn't have a friend in the ANC, he didn't have a friend in the world. At a certain time, the president of that time was saying, he's in the wilderness, forget about him. And he said, Aule tumshinewam. To his credit. Anyway, look, let's go to the crowd here, the audience, sexy people. I know you've got something to say. Yes?
In other countries, when things go bad, do people jump ship and immigrate, or is that just the South African solution?
It's worse. It's a white South African solution.
I think that's what we've known, because there's been so much, for me anyway, in my humble opinion, there's been so much instability for so many years, for so many decades, that has been the easiest solution. So let's pack our bags and let's go, because Well, it's far easier, and especially for somebody belonging to an ethnic minority group such as myself. Being Greek, many Greeks, well, I'm going back to Greece, or I'm going back to Italy, because there's another answer. And I think that we need to start breaking that spiral. But again, as you said, you can't judge anyone for leaving. It's a personal decision.
Go ahead.
Guys, we like look up to people like you who are so positive when we're having our bad days. Who are your inspirations?
Good question.
Excellent, thank you. I do have a number of people who inspire me. I'm a big fan of John Keogh's, obviously, who wrote the book Mind Power, Teach Mind Power, Tony Robbins. But also for me, my biggest inspiration is that I'm very conscious about what I feed my mind. Because most of what we feed our mind is all the negative stuff. So actually, to be honest with you, I don't read the paper much.
How do we motivate people of color? I want to put it that way. I want to say people of color because I mean colored, Xhosa, black, Indian, whatever. How do we motivate them not to have the old attitude of, he's looking at me like this, it's because I'm black?
It goes back to what I said earlier, which is that if that's the way they're going to choose to see their lives and that's what they're going to attract, they're going to attract racial discrimination. Absolutely. Because racial discrimination is a mindset. There are so many people of color who have done outstanding things with their lives and have achieved and accomplished so much. So if you're choosing to sit in that little box and focus on the color, then that's all you're going to get.
By the way, let me mention at this point that Karishni is our first Indian on the show, on the panel. No, you weren't meant to clap. You weren't meant to clap at that. That was silly.
It was so irrelevant.
She's just been going on about how colour doesn't matter, and you'll go, yay! No, thank you very much, panel. I think you've all made such a valid point, and I loved that question too, because we're separating ourselves out instead of pushing ourselves together, and it shouldn't even be a force. There's a natural attraction going on with the majority of the people in this country, I feel, and certainly with young people. There's a natural attraction going on here that we know that our future is of our own making. And more, I just hear positive things. You just got to listen for them. They're there. Remember, you can get updates on the show. You can go to mnet.co.za. You can click through to the Gareth Cliff Show, and you can follow the conversation on Twitter. If you've never tried it before, you can. You can also come and watch a recording of the show if you'd like to. We'll give you the details on mnet.co.za. If you would like to be in the studio audience, you can also go to CompuTicket. We'll be back right after the break. All right, some final thoughts from our panel.
I have to say one thing. Martyrdom, not nice. Get off your cross, we need the wood.
Well said.
Karishni?
It is always about turning tragedy into triumph. Where I get my inspiration from, apart from Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela. We live with history in this country by way of Nelson Mandela. We're very fortunate. I get my strength from those that are differently abled, those that are in hospitals and are not fully abled. If you don't have your health, you actually don't have anything. And it's only when your health is compromised that you actually appreciate life and you live your life in gratitude. So I would strongly suggest live your life in gratitude and appreciate the fact that you're fully abled.
That's a good point. Well put. Robin?
I think for me, where I get my inspiration from is from my fellow South Africans. I absolutely love the people that I connect with at the petrol attendant who's serving me, the lady behind the Pick and Pay counter. We tend to focus so much on what's happening in our lives. And when you become so focused and obsessed with what's not working in your life, you lose perspective. And so for me, the perspective is stop focusing on what I don't have, focus on what I have to give. And there's a great old quote I heard years ago, which is DSFSQ. And what that stands for is do something.
It's got an F in it, I'm nervous.
Well, you almost made me go somewhere, but
Don't
I'll
worry,
stay
this is
focused.
Mnet.
I'll stay focused. I'll stay focused.
We'll handle it.
DSFSQ is do something for someone quick. Stop focusing on what you don't have and focus on what you have to give. Even if it's in a small interaction, it's speaking to someone at the petrol attendant. Those, for those people who are afraid of South Africans, connect with the common South African, the person who is serving you at Pick and Pay. Be present, and I promise you'll find such beauty. We have such an amazing country.
Absolutely.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, on that very positive note, we'd need your positivity to end it, but thank you. Thanks so much, Karishni, Harry, very much Robin. 3 people, as I said at the beginning, who are all doing different things from different walks of life, but you're all making a huge positive contribution in your own way. Inspiring in itself. Are you a positive or a negative person? Ask yourself that when you wake up every morning. You have to. You see, there's so much depressing crap out there that if you're willing to look for it, you'll find it. And there's just as much good. And if you don't see that, I assure you, the problem is with you. Every occasion gives you two choices. There's a positive one or a negative one. And now I'm starting to sound like Robin.
Which is a good thing.
But you have to ask yourself about that glass, if it's half empty, and imagine everyone and everything is against you. Or you can try really hard to be objective. See the glass half full, see the potential. Tomorrow is Puza Thursday. Potential. Now enjoy Puza Thursday, but remember, if you keep filling the metaphorical glass with alcohol, do not drive. We all want to have fun, but don't be a loser in that area either. Thank you very much, and good night.
If you'd like to be a member of the studio audience at the next recording of the Gareth Cliff Show on the 23rd of November, please contact CompuTicket.
Next thing you know, she got low. The Maggie said it bounce out the Reeboks with the spell. She turned around and gave her the booty smell. She hit the floor. Next thing you know, she got low. I ain't never seen nothing that'll make me go this easy. Yo, not spending my dough. Any $1 million vibe in the bottle. Them birthday cakes, they stole the show. So sexual, so flexible, professional. You can get to the hoop. Hold up, wait a minute, 2 hours.